Thank you very much, Marion. I have two requests, and one of them is directed to the folks in the back of the room. If at any point you can't hear me, please raise your hand, because I want to make sure that the microphone is projecting. Carmen is waving at me, so I'm not sure what that means. Also, if you're unable to see the slides because there's too much light in the room, also there we go. Would you raise your hand and we can turn some of the lights off. We'll try it with lights on and see how it goes. Now I picked this title, where in the world did your great-grandfather come from? Because I wanted to give a presentation on how to start doing research to find your ancestral roots, not here in the United States, but in the foreign countries where your ancestors came from. I've always been amused. Americans tend to define themselves in terms of their ethnic heritage. Have you ever noticed that? I mean, if you ask somebody, who are you, or what are you, you tend to get one of two responses. One would be someone's line of work or their occupation, and the other is likely to be their ethnic heritage. So someone might say, my family is Italian, or I'm Polish, or I'm half Irish and half German. So all of us tend to define ourselves in that way, and that's because, let's face it, we are a nation of immigrants. If I asked how many of you here had an immigrant ancestor, I'm willing to bet that probably everybody in the room, except my wife and my sister-in-law, who are sitting in the back of the room, would raise their hands. And they wouldn't be not raising their hands because they're disrespectful. It would be because both of them are themselves immigrants. So aside from a person who is an immigrant, or perhaps 100% Native American ancestry, we all have an immigrant ancestry. And when we do our genealogical research, a lot of us are successful in carrying our research back to an immigrant ancestor, but then a lot of us get stuck. Does that happen to any of you? I see a few nodding heads. So it has happened, right? You get back to great-grandfather Schmidt or great-great-grandfather O'Reilly, and you just sort of hit a brick wall. You don't know where to go, what to do. So I'm hoping to try to give you some ideas about where to look and how to go about doing that kind of research. The goal for this research, there we go, is to find the town of origin that your immigrant ancestor came from. And by the town of origin, I just mean the town, the city, the village that they came from before they immigrated to the United States. And it might be in Europe, might be in Asia, it might be in the Caribbean or South America, it might be anywhere. The reason the town of origin is important is that it's really the key to doing further research. I can't overestimate the importance of the town of origin. If you don't know it, you can still do foreign research, but it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be like a needle in the haystack, because you're not going to know where to start. If you only know that your ancestor was German or Polish, think of the number of towns and cities that they might have come from. But if you do know the town of origin, then you're able to identify foreign records and foreign resources that you can tap, and that will allow you to do some very productive research. So knowing the town of origin is going to help you extend, add generations to your family tree. But I think equally important is that it really gives you a better picture of your ethnic heritage. In my case, the Bush family came from Wallertheim, Germany, which is in the Rhineland area in the Palatinate. And instead of simply saying, I'm German, or my family was German, I mean, I can say, well, they were from Wallertheim. It's a pretty little village on a tributary of the Rhine. It's in the middle of the wine-making country. And there's a big archaeological dig right next door, where they found a lot of Stone Age remains. So you can flesh out your knowledge of your ethnic heritage. But you can flesh out your knowledge of your ethnic heritage, and I think it makes it a lot more meaningful too. And the other thing it allows you to do is to have a better understanding of why your ancestors came to the United States. Once you know the town they were from, you can do some historical research and try to find out the political, the economic, the religious, the social conditions in that town and in that part of the country, and as to why your particular ancestor came to the United States. This isn't easy research. Genealogical research generally, I think this is not easy, and there are several reasons. Unfortunately, the name of the town our ancestors came from often is not preserved within the family. Does that happen to you? You would think that that's the thing that people would pass on from generation to generation. But even if it's your grandparent or your great-grandparent who was an immigrant, often you don't know, right? And so that's one frustration. Another frustration is that many of the records that were created about our ancestors here in the U.S. also didn't record the name of the town. They often said that he was from Germany or he was from Italy, or maybe from Alsace or Baden, but rarely give the name of the town. Even if you know the name of the town, it might be misspelled. Because remember, within the family, children and grandchildren would have been told, but maybe they never saw it in writing. So what you have to do as a genealogist, is take that name and try to determine the correct spelling and location of it. And finally, a lot of town names change. It happens here in the U.S. and it happens in other countries too. A town might have been merged or annexed with another town, or been swallowed up by a larger community nearby. Or there might have been a change in the political jurisdictions. In a town that was previously German is now Polish. The town name changed along with it. So, problems that you will encounter. But I want to be optimistic because you can overcome these, and it's a matter of just acknowledging that these problems might occur, and then you can deal with them when they do. So, challenges in this kind of research. One is to find the name of the immigrant's town of origin, and also illustrate some of the kinds of records that you can look at to try to find this. And then, secondly, once you have the name, determine the correct